Okay, hey Allie. So this video recorder limits me to 15 minutes, so I am going to get going. So your walk. Biggest thing I notice on this is that you kind of have a posture issue here. It feels like maybe this controller here is the one you're getting most of your rotation out of, and then you have these two controllers. And I think that one of the things you could do is you could get that rotation out of all three of those to get a little bit of a smoother arc in the chest. Or you can take this controller and maybe move it this way because there's a translate option on there. That's the biggest thing I noticed, with the exception of a little bit of a pop that you're seeing right there at the loop point. And if we cycle through that at one frame at a time, I think that that's just where the the curves are looping. And so what you may end up having to do is kind of eyeball it. If you look at the beginning of one of your curves and it's like this, and then you look at the ending over here somewhere else, and it's doing this. Let's draw that a little cleaner. Then you know that one of those isn't right. You're either going to have to, you're either wanting this one to go down like this, or break this one. I don't know. Like, you have to figure out how to line those up just by kind of eyeballing. If you look at the beginning and the end, how they should line up. So you get a little bit of a pop right there. It feels like it's in the translate Y of the hips, because the character kind of pops down just a little bit really quick. If we look at this from the back view, you can kind of feel it just a little bit more. If I go from the last frame to the I thought I could go all the way to the beginning. Oh, maybe I have to do Control L first. The first frame. So that's a little bit of a pop, but if you go back a few more steps, you'll see how much the head is actually moving. Before that is not very much. It's not going downward very much, but then it pops. So I think that that's just kind of eyeballing it. We can't really do the cycle unless they're individual, which you can do that. You can put them individually into their own file if you wanted to get the cycle working. But I think that I think that that's something you could eyeball to make work. So from this angle, my biggest note is I think the distance from your completely down to your up here, I think that just takes a little bit too long. So I think you could trim a frame, maybe two out of that, to really just get this pop. And then from your contact point up to here, that's actually feeling pretty good, and your landing's feeling pretty good. So from the side view, you're looking good. Now in this one, we have, I think, a few pose problems. And we'll see them mainly like here. So I think this is maybe something you're getting out of the clavicle, but when we talked earlier about the arms flowing through, getting a little bit of that. So if you do that, then your shoulders are going to be like that, and so you're right to think that your hips will be like that. The problem with that is your hips are like that, but you're trying to get your leg up there higher than your hips want to go. So you may end up having to kind of come up with a slightly alternative pose for this or something, just to get that flowing a little more cleanly up through there. Having said all that, overall it's pretty good still yet. If I step forward a little bit more, I think this pose you could do some interesting stuff here, which is, I think, if you could get this up like that, that way you really feel like you're reaching for it, and then contrast like this, and then maybe get this kind of flowing that way. And so I think that you can get a little bit of a stronger pose with that there as well. So very nitpicky stuff in the pose, but I'm kind of feeling it as just like these lacks. I kind of feel like these little spots where the flow is lacking. And I think that that's what needs a little work, is like just the flow in the character feels, and you can kind of feel them as, they're not really like hitches, it's just something that feels off in the pose. It feels like uncomfortable as he plays through. So, see how we're doing time-wise. Okay, got 4 minutes. Got 4 minutes to go. So let's look at your idle. I think this is feeling pretty good. I I do think though you can still push this pose. So right now if we were to draw the line of action through the character, you get a nice curve through there, but then the knees kind of come out there to hitch it. And I wonder if you could just get sort of a nice flowy pose all the way through it. And so maybe it would be like the head's like that, but then the spine's like this, and then the feet are maybe back just a little bit more. So you're just kind of straightening the knees just a little bit, kind of pushing the character's hips forward a little bit more, just to kind of get a little bit more of sort of the whole character's chest is pushed out, not just the chest itself. And I think you can get a little bit of that too, like what we're talking about in the walk with the pose, with not just having it all in that top control. As far as the motion's going, this one's actually looking really good. I'm feeling a little bit. I noticed this in actually the previous angle. The thumb feels like it's stretched really far back there, and so you may want to try to, instead of having it, I can't. I'll open it back up if you need me to. But like right now, the hand is doing like this, and then the thumb is just bending way back like this. And so maybe what you need is to actually kind of just sort of fake it, wrapping around them like that, and not actually making it all the way around there. And then I feel like there's a little bit of a gap in contact right there with the palm. And so you can fight with that just a little bit, but for the most part, this is actually looking really good. So I don't have a lot of negative things to say about this one. So I think this is the one you said you weren't quite finished with, and I can tell it needs a little bit more work. Even if that, it's still got some good poses. But I think the hips kind of dart forward right there, and I feel like it's almost like it's staggered or twisted sideways, because this first foot comes way further forward. His right foot comes way further forward than his left, it feels like. And so that's getting a little. It kind of gives it a little bit of a limp. It also feels like maybe I don't know. Like there's something to that the asymmetry of it makes it feel a little limpy. But that's all right, because I think it actually feels a lot better from the back pose. And I think that I think if it's sort of a side shuffle walk, I think the one foot being further than the other is all right. But yeah, I think you kind of know where you're going with this, and I think it's getting there. But you still need a little bit of polishing up on it. I would consider too how you lead and follow. So you probably want to try to lead with the upper body. So as the character takes a step forward, kind of start rotating the chest forward earlier. I'm trying to see if I can draw this with the sort of the hips like this. So as the character before the character starts to move forward, rotate the head and the chest into that, almost like you're diving your head forward. And I think that'll kind of help with sort of the sneakiness of it. If that's not clear, talk with me in class and we can kind of look at that one a little more closely. And so this is the crouch idle. I'm curious about some of the skinning problems you're having here. I'm not sure if that's from if that's still in the new character, or if it's if you're still referencing one of the older characters from where we fixed that. But if that's still in that, let me know and I'll keep working on it. But overall, this crouch idle, I don't have a lot of negative things to say about it at all. It looks really good. So cool. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will be emailing the grade to you in just a bit. Thanks.